half Kane, half Faust, all blood of the pharaohs. You're listening to Ranking Rick Riordan, a podcast where we rank every book in the Riordanverse. I'm Dan.
I'm Olga.
And I'm Clara. And today we're discussing the Kane Chronicles Book 1, The Red Pyramid.
We're brought to you by Salsa. It's better than blood. That's all I could come up with this week. I apologize.
It's all right. It's all right.
Cows love it.
I was hoping that they gave it a brand name or something I could do with it, but I don't think they did.
Las Cruces Salsa.
Oh, was it?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I could have gone with that. Yeah. Well, Kane Chronicles doesn't have as many stores they go to as Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
But
Boo.
But a lot of museums.
That's true. We could be brought to you by a different museum every week.
Different gift shops.
All right, Olga, take it away.
Okay, we pick up our recap right after Carter defeats the set animal. But first, we want to say a quick thank you to IKEA115 for her review on Apple Podcasts. So big thank you to IKEA115.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of nice reviews in the last few weeks, and I appreciate it.
They always make my day, so thank you so much.
So we're on the plane to Memphis, and Carter has another spirit dream. He observes Set being manipulated by face of horror, not terror. That's someone else.
That's his brother.
Yeah. They don't get along. I wonder why. Anyway, while they watch the construction of the Red Pyramid, Set says it will be Osiris's final resting place, and he'll use Amos to defeat Carter. They land in Memphis, and Bass drops the kids off at the University of Memphis to find Thoth.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Memphis a little bit. I know we hit on it slightly last week, but I'd say it's the biggest. Maybe I'm wrong. It seems like the most place that they focus on the culture and do the usual Riordan thing.
Yep.
But a few problems here. Anything we want to just quickly say before we...
I guess the only thing I have to say is I wish that I knew something more distinct about the University of Memphis specifically, because otherwise it's just it's a university and it happens to be in Memphis, which is also a place in Egypt, which is why Thoth is there. And that's the one thing where I really feel like Riordan is usually so good is he gives us what makes something a distinct location.
Yeah. I think he definitely tried. He talked about the economic disparity. He talked about, obviously, he wanted to hit on Graceland. And I think at minimum, I think the set piece at Graceland is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he does bring up the pyramid stadium.
I meant more specifically the university.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right that Memphis itself is still described.
Yeah.
So I'm not being generous. What else is new?
Memphis definitely feels more like a location than DC, even though probably a comparable amount of space is spent in both places.
Yeah.
They run into Hufu and his friends, and Carter is forced into a basketball match. Turns out he is awful, and Hufu is personally offended. They meet Thoth and ask for help, but he tells them that Isis is power hungry, and he doesn't want to interfere in their squabbles anymore.
This is when we sort of find out more about Isis and the fact that she tricked Ra, and that, how, the fact that Horus and Isis don't even always get along either, that he cut her head off and all that stuff.
Yeah. Good God stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, typical family dysfunction.
Typical.
Plus godly powers.
Who hasn't been there?
Yeah.
Thoth also assumes that Isis and Horus had fully possessed their hosts, but thinks otherwise when Sadie tells Isis to shut up. Thoth gives them a test to acquire an item of power without succumbing to the gods. Mm-hmm. The siblings are teleported to Graceland, the home of Elvis Presley. They walk towards the building and see two magicians with staves and wands coming towards them.
Let's pause for a second. I just want to say, so last week we sort of debated whether Sadie got way more than Carter and stuff like that. And honestly, the more I wrote this week's one, I was even more convinced that Sadie gets too much. Because she's basically every single god she interacts with way more than Carter does. Carter only interacts with Horus.
Yeah.
He's there for Toph, but Sadie's the one who convinces him of anything.
Yeah, because Carter's a lizard.
Yeah.
Poor Carter. It's always the Jason-esque characters, ain't it? Who just kind of get the short end of the stick. Wait, what's the phrase? Whatever.
It is the short end
of the stick.
Ah, nice. Good. Okay.
Short end of the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of them blasts Carter into a lizard. Sadie brings 4 Elvis suits to life to defend her and ultimately defeats the magicians. She turns Carter back into a human, and suddenly the enemies shatter, and the Kanes realize that the magicians were actually Shop D sent by Toth.
Yeah. I mean, so I obviously super trimmed this down. It's a big fight.
It is. It's a lot of fun, too.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my highlights of the book. Something I definitely remembered very well from my first read.
Yeah. So they go to Elvis's tomb and find an Ankh chain and a scroll of a cat god fighting the serpent Apophis. Toth accepts the Ankh necklace and tells them that to defeat Set, they will need a secret name and a feather of truth from the land of the dead. They see Bast aboard a ship called the Egyptian Queen sailing down the river. The Kanes join her and an axe-headed demon called Bloodstained Blade. Okay, like, what the heck?
BB.
Hey, it's BB.
Yeah. Well, so I always meant to look this up. I assume the demon descriptions are from actual ancient Egypt, and he didn't decide that they all had different weapon heads. But because not my favorite part of the demon world.
I mean, wait, which part? The boat?
No. The fact that all the demons have different, like, weird devices for heads. Like, I'm okay with Bloodstained Blade being an anomaly, but every demon has, like, a corkscrew or, like, an axe or, like, a knife as a head.
Well, really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess I was thinking of Face of Horror.
He's an exception.
Oh, he's an exception because his weapon is a face.
Okay, I'll say this. The average demon has a weird device as a head.
I'm looking at an article, oldest depiction of ancient Egyptian demons found.
Mm-hmm.
I see a bird with a cat head. I see another bird with a cat head. I Googled ancient Egyptian demons' weapon heads.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if anybody knows, let us know. Maybe we'll do some research before next book.
So yeah. I did a preliminary Google search, and it just gives me Apophis and more Apophis. Like, you might want to Google Apophis. And I'm like, I don't want to. I want to learn about the demon heads.
Yeah, but definitely when they describe, like, when they look down into, like, the pit of the mountain, they definitely describe a bunch of people with, like, scissor heads and like, I think Hapesh heads and things like that.
Okay, that rings a bell.
Anyway, I do like Bloodstained Blade, though, and the audiobook voice for him is great.
Oh, I really like it. That's the part that I listened to. This entire scene was one of the things that I heard on the audiobook, and it just worked so well with Bast and their talking. Like, I love this scene. Yep. So, getting back into it, the Kanes order Bloodstained Blade to sail into the land of the dead, and Bast tells them that this boat belonged to their parents. Over lunch, Bast admits she was the Eye of Ra and that he ordered her to fight Apophis for all time. She realized that she was losing the fight, and Ruby Kane saw that, so they released her but sealed in Apophis. Bast and Julius both hoped it was enough to keep Apophis contained.
But was it?
It was not.
The thing is, I gotta say, I don't totally understand what Ruby and Julius are trying to do.
Me neither. I thought that you would understand it, Dan. I thought that you would have some deeper understanding.
I think the idea is supposed to be they were checking on the cage. And then they realized that Bast was there and she escaped, and then they resealed the cage. But I think it comes down to that her divining abilities weren't very clear. She just knew something was wrong, and they needed to investigate it.
I'm assuming, I mean, my reading of it, that was, I guess, an assumption was just like, she saw that in order to, at some point, defeat Apophis, they would need to pull out Bast and find another way of defeating him, because if he was just left there alone without a plan B, he would defeat her and then eventually get out, and that would be it. And that this wasn't a sustainable thing, that they had to actually, like, investigate, and that Bast would lose, and that everyone would lose if she lost eventually.
Well, one could also argue that they reinforced the cage, and that because there's 6 years in between Ruby's death and the start of the book, that maybe he would have risen faster if they hadn't reinforced it.
I mean, that's getting more into the details that I didn't think about. I just thought of it as like, if they don't do this, definitely he'll get out.
Yeah. It's possible she just like knew this had to happen and didn't know why, but ultimately it needed to lead to the events of this book and blah, 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 blah.
So I was really confused, actually, because I thought all of this like talk of divination was going to be leading to Sadie also having the power of divination. And then it's like, no, it's super rare. Ruby's the only one who has it. It's like, oh. And that came from Isis, not from Sadie. Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. Like, I thought that was like a weird, I walked away from it being like, okay, so now she's going to be a diviner too, like her mom. It's like, no.
I mean,
I actually love that.
Yeah.
Like, I love that it's not like, and now I've passed my gift on to you. It's like, no, I'm special. I have this gift. You have your own thing.
Yeah.
I kind of adore that.
Yeah, I mean, like, she gets, like, visions and stuff, but not, I'm talking about just in this book.
Yeah.
Like, she gets, like, little visions and things from her mom even, but, like, once in a while, Isis, like, seems to see something and warn her about stuff. But, no, there's no, and honestly, I like it because it makes it different from the Greek stuff. That I don't want, like, every book to start with Sadie getting a different prophecy. And,
no. For the record, I'm okay with it. I was just a little confused because... Usually that's where it ends up going.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, never mind. Subversion.
Yep.
All right. So they navigate the River of the Dead using the Book of the Dead, a guide for dead people, and they reach the underworld. I think that, very straightforward. They meet Osiris's guard, Shezmu, and Sadie tricks him into revealing his secret name.
I am Shezmu.
I really love this. It was so fun.
Really good.
Sadie recites it, and Shezmu disappears into the river. But once again, this is like, and Sadie uses her charm and wit and power of meeting gods to
and then
solve the problem.
talks to Iskander alone again.
Yeah.
Poor Carter.
Yeah. So they meet the Ba of Iskander, who froze time for everyone except Sadie, and they discuss his mistakes spanning the path of the gods. So they then sail onto land and are approached by the god Anubis, whom Sadie finds drop dead gorgeous.
Moo.
Anubis leads them into the Hall of Judgment, where the scales used to weigh the dead are broken. Anubis says that Osiris had been gone too long and chaos is overtaking the land of the dead. He takes Sadie into a graveyard alone, since he doesn't like Horus, also, so they can, like, flirt. He's reluctant to give her the Feather of Truth at first, but gives in after learning that defeating Set could release Osiris. He asks her to answer 3 questions while holding the feather to prove she's worthy. The most difficult of which is whether she'd give up her father to save the world. Reluctantly, she says yes, and Anubis advises her to ask Nephthys for Set's secret name.
All right. So, Clara was making some noises.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
But she's so little.
I know.
She's so little, and I'm actually okay with her having a crush on Anubis.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty realistic for like a 12-year-old to have a crush on someone a few years older than them who's really cool, right? But that older person should this should not be like romanticized as something that like they should have a relationship. Like, no, she's a child. Yeah. She's really truly a child. We complained about Frank and Hazel.
Yeah.
This is so much. He's an adult.
Well, he's 16.
More than adult. No, he's not. He's an ageless deity.
I know.
And she's 12.
I mean, that's the thing that makes this particularly complicated is that even if you're able to get beyond the ageless thing, then he's still 16. Which is still too old.
Yeah. It's just like, this is easy to just say like, no.
Yeah. I don't know why. I mean, the other thing is, they were already explaining away why is he 16, so why didn't they just make him 14?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't get it.
You know what I'm just realizing about like the Olympians? So Apollo, he likes to be a teenager, right?
Oh, this is gross, Olga.
I know, right? And I'm like, so does this mean that Apollo's like showing up to like 25-year-old women?
I mean, he was flirting with flirting with the hunters, right? Wasn't he flirting with Thalia?
Yeah, Thalia was 15.
Yeah, but no, I was just like like doing a reversal thing where like, is he like seducing adult women as like also as like a
you're
16-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
it's not just him. I mean, like Zeus is...
I mean, Zeus is like a...
Well, Zeus is a disaster. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, but my point is, if you're talking about, like, if you're talking about thinking about them being thousands of years old, literally even like Athena is a problem. Like, you know, it's just, you have to put yourself in a different mindset with gods.
Well, but there is a difference between an adult and a 12-year-old child.
Oh, no.
In terms of, like...
I feel like he tries to, and by he, I mean Riordan, like, make it okay by having Anubis, like, reference the fact that, like, in my time, 12-year-olds would get married. You know, like, and that doesn't help.
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Well, so this just comes back to, like, I have to think of Sadie as not the egg she is.
Yeah.
Because if I do that, I don't mind their relationship. And they want me to not mind their relationship. So if I think of her as 15 and him as 16, good with their relationship.
Yeah.
But in some ways, it's also difficult because, like you said, like, they kind of write her inner monologue about him as though she's a 12-year-old.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating because if he didn't return this, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it would just be her being a realistic kid who has a crush.
Yeah.
That's like totally A-okay. Good stuff, actually. I find all of Sadie's character feels really realistic to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then this is bad for her. I'm worried for her.
Yeah. It's, well, we'll get back to this throughout the series.
Great.
Yeah, I believe it.
When she turns 13.
Yeah.
Boss, Sadie, Carter, and Hufu regroup in a stolen RV. Carter receives a vision of Zia asking him to meet her and make peace with the house. As her spell fades, she warns Carter not to trust Amos. They approach a river to seek out Nephthys, but her voice is weak. All they catch is that she's trapped in a sleeping host. Carter then spots a crocodile attacking a family and tries to fight it. Suddenly, he hears Sadie cry out and sees another crocodile knock her out. Enraged, Carter easily defeats the crocodile, but the god Sobek appears. Sobek claims he is working for Set since Set is so powerful. Bast and Carter both summon combat avatars, but Sobek is winning easily. Bast sacrifices herself to defeat him, leaving only Muffin behind.
All right, let's pause for a second. So first of all, what did you guys think about the whole Nephthys being in a sleeping host thing? Because both of you didn't figure out the Zia thing, so you were just like, ooh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, oh, where'd she go? Like, where, you know, what? I actually saw it as, like, not really putting together that she was also released when Julius did, you know, broke the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah.
I thought she was, like, always sleeping elsewhere. Like, I thought that she's been, like, in a deep sleep somewhere in the world for, like, a long time. It's similar to the Cleopatra's Needle thing, frankly.
For me, it was that I think if it had been like book 2 or 3, I might have been different, but I assumed it was just a new character we were going to meet, like at the end of the book or something. Like,
well, I also think they picked the word correct. Like the fact they said sleeping and not like in a trance or blah blah blah. Like, like it could have been real Zia just asleep, like literally. So, you know. It could have been like, oh, wow, my host is asleep. I have less power to communicate or something like that. So.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's true.
Yeah, like it doesn't spell out that Zia is a shop D.
Yeah.
Because it could just be like, Zia is asleep at this moment and therefore my voice is quiet. Okay.
Sobek battle's pretty cool.
Yeah. Sobek's crocodile minions surge forward, but then a giant white crocodile repels them and Amos appears. It's Philip, right?
Yeah. I like the reveal that he's a shop D.
Me too.
Yeah.
Again, another thing that should have been like, it's Zia. There's a lot of shop Ds.
They're shopping around. Yeah. So how do you guys feel about, like, I think you were actually about to read it with Amos and them, like, not really trusting him, but also trusting him. It kind of went on a long time for me.
Getting ahead where Set is like, I couldn't have made it more, or was it Set? No, it was Amos himself fighting against Set, being like, I couldn't have made it more obvious for you. I kept using chaos magic. Yeah. Why didn't you put it together? Yeah. It's like, yeah, seriously, why didn't you put it together? And why were you like so suspicious of Zia for being like, hey, don't trust this guy when he does the thing like 5 times?
Yeah, I think, honestly, that's probably my biggest plot critique of this book is just like, he should have shown up later. He should have like saved them from Sekhmet or something. You know, like they're just with him too long to draw out this back and forth of is he bad or not.
Mm-hmm. They're with him too long when he's untrustworthy and not long enough when he's their uncle who's like taken them in and is the only family they have right now besides the grandparents. Like, if they had more time with him, or if they had remembered him and he was their trusted uncle, it might be different. But
I agree with that totally.
Yeah,
I do. At least they don't tell him about the Book of Set and all that stuff, but doesn't save it for me.
They're not outright like
morons,
stupid. Yeah, but it's still just like not necessarily the most interesting thing to read over and over again when it. In a way, if anything, it would be more interesting at a certain point if Amos wasn't possessed by Set, because it's like, hey, watch out, this is suspicious behavior.
Exactly. Given the amount of time that it's like obvious he's Set, the actual reveal would be that he isn't Set. So like.
All right, so Sadie wakes in New Mexico with Carter and Amos next to her. Amos explains that Set doesn't need a host as long as the pyramid is there to manifest him in a physical form. The Kanes are suspicious of Amos and his story of escape from the pyramid, but aren't sure what to do. Ain't that right? Sadie falls asleep again and meets Geb, the Earth God. She gives Geb the envelope, which shows Geb Nut's face for the first time in millennia. Geb advises Sadie to go to the place of the crosses. This was sweet.
Yeah.
You know, nice.
It was really sweet.
I like how Sadie's like, if you can't do anything, what was the point of all? Like, he ends up just giving her this cryptic thing, and it's like, oh, gods.
Oh, you guys. You deity creatures.
I love that in this world, the gods aren't like the people that you pray to.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's one of the things with the Percy Jackson books where you do at a certain point just say like, okay, well, you know what? If you're not going to help me, you're not getting prayers. So
no burnt food for you.
Yeah.
The only problem is it seems like, at least in Percy Jackson, when gods are like neglected, then they get more bitter and they'll just be like, you might think I shouldn't be worshipped, but like, I'm going to make your life a living hell until you fear me or change your behavior, you know, until you die.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to worship the Greek gods because they're way more powerful than the Egyptian ones. The Egyptian ones, like, you can banish and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
No one's ever tried banishing Zeus.
That's true.
You could.
We should try.
Let's give it
fingers crossed.
The good old New Rome University try. Carter thinks they should go to Las Cruces to meet up with Zia. Amos is skeptical, but Sadie realizes that Las Cruces is Spanish for the place of the crosses.
I did enjoy them getting the food and all that stuff, and
yeah.
It was interesting that Sadie had never had like any Spanish food or Mexican food or anything.
Oh yeah, it's like not really a thing
in England.
And I recognize it's not the same thing. But when I went to Edinburgh with a friend when I was studying abroad, I understand Scotland is not England. Nobody get mad at me. But the point is that having been in Denmark for like a really long time, like up to that point studying abroad, me and my friend, we didn't have any Mexican food except like store-bought, really like basically knockoff Doritos. Like that was the closest we got to tortilla chips. And so we found this Mexican restaurant in Edinburgh and it was like fine, but like it was definitely not good Mexican food. Like the margaritas were the only thing they really got that was like successful. So yeah, it's not surprising to me at all that she hadn't experienced like Tex-Mex.
I know this isn't the plane like that happened earlier, but I really like that they're flying around on planes.
Oh yeah.
And that's a thing.
I cut out the part where they save everybody on the plane.
Oh yeah. Oh, I really like that.
It's really cool. It feels so realistic. It really like they travel. They're not just doing the Greek road trip. It's nice.
Yeah. That could be a
appreciate
really
that.
cool sequence in the movie of Desjardins and
Yeah.
them all saving
Yeah.
people.
I
on the
would
plane.
really,
Yeah.
I really wouldn't want them to cut that out.
Yeah.
Like, I could see that being removable, but it's so important to the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
having hope and it, again,
Yeah.
subverting expectations. And the only reason I could see them cutting it out is because, like,
it paints him in too positive a light.
no, it's the unfortunate thing of, like, an attack on a plane and like, it being, you know, a difficult thing for kids to maybe, like, because it's supposed to be targeted at, like...
If it was a Disney property, if they were doing it on Disney Plus, I might agree with you. I feel like Netflix won't care.
Maybe.
We'll see.
I could see it being cut out for several reasons, but that is one of them, even though I wouldn't want it to.
I feel like Netflix will want this to be more of like a family movie than a kids movie. They want it to be like Stranger Things, I feel like.
I understand.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I hope it gets that. Ooh,
that would be
scary.
Great. Yeah.
Spooky.
I agree. I'm just saying that I could see this being like, this could go too far.
Yeah. I guess I'm just desensitized after the boys airplane.
Yeah,
scene.
That's not a family-friendly show. They're adults who can't handle that. Would you show that show to your mother?
No.
Exactly. Zia mistrusts Amos and wishes to talk to Carter in private, but suddenly other magicians, including Desjardins himself, come to attack them. Amos and Desjardins engage in a duel in which Amos uses storm magic, a force of chaos. Strike one. Zia sides with the Kanes and summons a pillar of fire that goes after Desjardins. While he is retreating, he summons 7 arrows and throws them at Amos, summoning Sekhmet.
I love Zia's pillar of fire thing here.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Of course I didn't think she was a Shabti. Like, look at how powerful that is.
It's very
like,
true.
That's a total misdirect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And speaking of powerful people.
Mm-hmm. So Amos distracts Sekhmet briefly before she starts chasing the rest of the group. Zia spots a salsa factory, and Sadie distracts Sekhmet while Carter unleashes a torrent of salsa. Thinking the salsa is blood, Sekhmet drinks it all until she passes out and turns into the cow goddess Hathor.
Another one of my favorite sequences.
Yeah.
And very classic Riordan, like reusing the myth in a new context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love the, like, how are they ever going to get out of this?
Yeah.
Like, this is so, like, this is terrifying and intense, and then it's like she drinks blood salsa
So good.
and turns into a cow god.
Yep. And the thing is, like, if they didn't give me the context of the actual myth, I might have been like, this is dumb. But because they actually said the actual myth, I'm like, okay, this works for me.
Yeah. So Doughboy drives the group towards Set, and Zia tells Carter that she knows Set's secret name. Carter inquires how, and thinks that Zia might have hosted Nephthys, as she was there when the Rosetta Stone broke. She disagrees, as the other magicians hadn't detected it. Then Amos appears, and Zia clams up. As the group approaches the pyramid, Amos turns them all into storm clouds to hide them despite their protests.
Strike 2.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the visual of this and, like, them being pulled apart and feeling like, you know, having to figure out how to travel as that. It was like a different kind of magic that we haven't read before.
Well, I like, so we get, I think this, and we get this from Carter's perspective, and he talks about the lizard thing too, and how invasive it felt to be forced into something. And then he ends up, it's kind of a good, what's the gun thing with the, like, you put a gun on the table and you have to use it.
Chekhov's gun?
Chekhov's gun, thank you. It's kind of a Chekhov's gun, but that his, like, real big moment is when he makes Set turn into a bat later.
Yeah. So they see Set's forces carrying the Pyramidion between 2 flying boats. Our gang destroys one of the boats, causing the Pyramidion to drop, thus preventing the pyramid from full completion. Then 40 to 50 winged demons attack, and Amos holds them off while the rest of them make their way inside. They reach the throne room at the center, and they see the coffin where Osiris/Julius lies. Then Amos jumps from the ceiling and falls to his knees. Smoke starts coming out of him, and it manifests into Set. Wow, who could have seen that coming?
Zia.
The reader. So Set laughs that all his siblings stepped right into his trap, implying that Zia is hosting Nephthys. He tries to steal Zia's power, but is confused when he finds that she isn't there. That Nephthys isn't there. After being...
I like the district set, too.
Yeah.
After being slammed and pinned by Set, Carter and Horace decide to stop fighting each other and act as one against their common enemy. They summon the combat avatar and attack Set in unison.
I love this moment.
It's so cool.
Oh my God. This is the like straight-laced character who doesn't get as much as his sister Sadie, but like has this just absolutely fantastic moment, and it's in the first book, not the fifth.
Yeah.
I will avenge Jason's treatment.
Yeah, and I was gonna say this moment is very like anime to me, of like whether it's like something like Digimon, where it's like the Digimon and the human act as one, or like just like becoming a Super Saiyan or something. It's very fun.
Yeah, we put our differences aside and we work together.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah. So to protect the rest of the group, they force Set into the shape of a fruit bat and fight outside of the pyramid. The House of Life magicians have arrived and are fighting their way through Set's forces. Carter gets distracted and Set blasts him down the pyramid. Easy come, easy go in terms of,
success.
Yeah, being strong and powerful and effective.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that the magicians, are helping them deal with the demons here and there, because, it definitely wouldn't have been possible for these guys to fight them all off.
I didn't write down Desjardins' like fake out death, where it seems like Set might have killed him.
Yeah.
And how do you guys feel? So the next thing that happens is in the chronology of when you're reading is we have Sadie emerging and then it goes backwards, which I think that's like the only time in the book where they do that.
I like that.
I thought it was kind of
cool.
I like
it too.
Yeah.
I like it too. And you know what it does is it also avoids that problem that you have with that we all have with Blood of Olympus, where some big moment happens, but it's happening for more than one person, but you only get one person's perspective, and then it just feels really frustrating.
Yeah.
You get both perspectives in this key moment, and that's very rewarding.
And especially, this is where the like storytelling mechanism makes sense, because it's like, okay, here's what I was doing over here, and I'm telling my story. Sadie has heard this, and now I'm telling you. And then Sadie's like, okay, so you heard Carter's story. This is what I was doing.
Yeah.
And Carter knows this. So, like, this is how we we're still, like, helping each other even while we were apart. And it just, like, it really makes sense that they weren't always together, or one of them was knocked out while...
Yeah, and I like also that we see from Carter's perspective, he didn't know what she was doing, and suddenly she just bursts from the sky.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's cool.
Meanwhile, Zia tells Sadie that even though she isn't hosting Nephthys, she can communicate with her in a way, and tells Sadie that Set's secret name is Evil Day. Sadie runs to her dad's coffin and touches it, receiving many visions at once. Anubis tells her the restoration of Mott must start at the Hall of Judgment. She also sees the empty throne of the gods and the empty throne of the pharaoh in the first gnome. She sees her parents at Cleopatra's Needle as her mom gives up her life for the greater good. Sadie lets go of the coffin and her parents' spirits appear. They tell her that she must put defeating Set above her family ties. Sadie merges with Isis and flies to the top of the pyramid. She summons a giant portal that transports everyone to the Washington Monument, far away from Set's source of power.
Another amazing Chekhov's gun of setting up, like, her main thing has done doing portals all throughout. She struggled at first. She got better at it. We set up the default location in America. Like, all this stuff coming together, I think is great.
Yeah, especially since their stop at the Washington Monument was, like, so short and really just like it was a place for them to just
relax,
recover, and then set animal attacks. It's like, all right, we're setting up the set piece, but it doesn't actually matter until later. So it's really good pacing, I think.
Yeah.
And this book has so much stuff that happens in it, but it's incredibly like it's a really tight narrative. Like, for all the things that could have been loose ends or just sort of like sprinkled in for fun, most of them get like brought back up.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is impressive given how much happens.
Yeah.
Again, I think the reason there were so many beginnings is so that you have a lot of these payoffs in the back half. And so it's worth it. It's just like makes the beginning feel like a slow ramp up. But then, absolutely. Once all of it, like, this is here, this is here, this is here. Like, that's where it's impressive and it ties together.
The world just has a lot of important locations that you have to hit on before you really get out. And like the fact that you got to set up both Brooklyn house and the first gnome, and they don't start at either place. It just makes it so you have a lot of beginnings.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sadie summons the Feather of Truth and starts chanting. Set tries to stop her, but Carter holds him back. Sadie is one line away from finishing her spell, but she hears her mother warn her to watch for the enemy. She looks at the pyramid and sees a giant snake. She stops the spell, and Face of Horror tries to kill her, but is quickly dispatched by Carter. The snake's body flies into the sky, and both Sadie and Carter realize that Apophis is slowly rising.
And they like show it to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. Everyone's on the same page. Good. Ish. Using Seth's secret name, Sadie forces him to swear to side with them against Apophis. They strike a deal and let Seth vanish into the Duat.
This is one of my favorite parts of the book.
I love this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's so easy to do the same ending, action-packed ending to any book, or it reminds me of like how many times we've seen the same ending in every MCU movie, which is like then they defeat the bad guy, but it's like actually doing something. Like we still got our big action set piece, but doing something different with it, I thought was great.
And Seth was obviously still a threat. It's just like it's not the threat you should be worried about. Like he's nothing. Yeah. And again, he's like charming and funny and in a weird way that I'm okay with him coming back later.
Yeah.
So Zia is revealed to be a Shopti, and a blue light escapes from its mouth. Carter and Sadie release the gods they are hosting, and Desjardins states they shouldn't cross the House of Life again. I was a little sad that they released Horus and Isis.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought about that.
I miss them.
Yeah.
My one question is it earned? I guess it's kind of earned.
It's rushed. That's the one thing I'll say. I feel like them jumping to releasing them, I was like, wait, what? I don't know. I didn't realize that was an option.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's certainly they reinforce throughout the whole book that like their power will eventually overtake you, and Toth is like assumes that they're being totally controlled, and I think it's a very good thing for book 2 that it resets things, and we got in book 1 to see the heights that you could get up to, but now we kind of have to go back to basics and earn it.
I mean, if they were able to channel this power all the time, it would be so hard until they faced Apophis to do anything, and then the power levels would be messed up. The same as if like Percy had kept his Styx immortality thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Having read the other books, I think it's a great choice.
I'm not saying that it's going to like negatively affect my enjoyment of the other books or anything like that, or that I think it's a mistake. I was just like very taken aback by this taking place. Like it just didn't seem like an option for the premise they were going for. But I'm still thinking about it in the like context of like demigods.
Yeah, and
like along that vein, they're going to be hosts for gods. That kind of thing.
I get it. I think this was this book's version of like whether it be Percy not accepting godhood at the end of Last Olympian, or even Lightning Thief with him like not doing things for his mom. Like I think it's just like their big heroic moral moment of we're not the greedy ones. We're gonna show that we're different. We see our limits and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that is also I didn't mention like that's set up by what happened with the mom and everything too. So,
yeah. So they all return to Brooklyn House and spend the next few weeks repairing things. Then Anubis appears and summons a portal for them to the Hall of Judgment with Julius as the king there. Julius decides to stay in the Duat as Osiris with their dead mother, Ruby. He gives them the Jed amulet, the symbol of Osiris. Horus reclaims the throne as the ruler of the heavens, and then Horus and Isis reward them by repairing the rest of Amos's house and reviving Bast. Amos is still broken from his experience hosting Set, so he heads off to the first gnome to get healed. Carter and Sadie then go on to recruit others to their group of magicians in Brooklyn.
The end.
Mm-hmm.
The end.
All right.
And recording 1.
Yes. I am very torn about the Osiris aspect of this. It like really bothers me that he just like left his kids. And I understand they're going for, this is like, I think one of the things about going for order versus good and evil, or it's not about morality, it's about what's like necessary. And I think that is an interesting sort of theme that they go with. But like, he didn't need to do that. I guess technically he did, but the problem is that it wasn't like either I do this or like they'll all die right now. Like he chose to go to the British Museum at that particular time and bring the kids with him on Christmas Eve. Like it's just a weird, I don't know. And then he's like, and now I get to be with my wife again. I'm like, it's a little weird.
Yeah. In a do-lot version of our house in LA where we used to be happy together. It's like, okay, or you could mentor your children to be.
Yeah. It made me think of Inception a little bit.
Mm.
Something about like the ocean and like now they're back together and the kids are like, ah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just like, he could have like tried to convince Amos to be Osiris or something. He doesn't have kids. Well, I don't know. Just saying. Not a good father, in my opinion.
Here's the thing. I kind of like, I'm just going with the flow here and being like, okay, this is like necessary for order to go against chaos. He needs to do this. He's already hosting Osiris. What would happen if he like stopped hosting him? What would like, then no one would be on the throne, blah, blah, blah. Like it was just.
So to be clear, I have no issue with him staying that way after the Red Pyramid and all that stuff. I have an issue with him going to the British Museum to do this in the first place.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, where I'm like, and where I go with the flow, like, he just does this. And I mean, and in a lot of ways, this show demonstrates how Julius is, like, not a great father. Yeah. Like, he tried to, like, keep his family together as best he could, but, like, he was very nearsighted about his like version of what being a parent is. I mean, in a lot of ways, like my bias is to say that like the way he raised Carter was very selfish in and of itself.
You know what I wish they had done is, so like early on throughout the book, we think that what he was doing was to try to bring the mom back from the dead. And I wish that was what he originally was trying to do.
Yeah,
and
me
that
too.
By the end of the book, he goes, you know, what's actually more important is I need to take on this responsibility. Even if I don't want to, it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because to me, that would have given him an arc, and I would have been more sympathetic.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, poor Julius. Like, I get he's in a difficult situation, and but still, I mean, like, I should remember that this is a situation that's been constructed. It's not like he's actually put into this real life situation.
Right, of course. Yeah, it's just like an interesting thing when you think about like the morality of parenthood, so to speak. Like how much of yourself do you need to put aside for your kids versus like you are still an individual with like plans and hopes and dreams and that kind of thing. I mean,
that's why it's like a core theme of the book, especially because that's like Sadie's climactic moment is giving up her family for what's necessary and for order. And he did the same thing. But just to me, it's different when you're the parent versus when you're the kid. Like,
I agree.
I also wonder for kids reading it, what it says to them about how they should think about their parents' choices. And I'm thinking about kids who understand that like their parents have to work really hard in order to take care of them, or like that's just the way it is, or you know.
I thought about if your parent has to go to war.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to think about is like if your parent is in the military, how do you reckon with that? And there's such a, you know, it's this balance. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because I don't want to come down on Julius too hard, even though that's my like, it's like my first thought is to come down on him hard. But like, I mean, soldiers are a pretty good real world parallel that you're choosing to do that. And I don't want to like hate on people that make that choice.
Well,
so like,
I mean, I'm going to take it even like a little broader than the military. It's just like any parent who like has their own ambitions and like doesn't, you know, is still a person and doesn't want to put them aside, even though they're also a parent. Like, obviously there are parents who are like, you're like, I would do anything for my kid. And yet they're like, they travel a lot for work or like generally just like, as Clara put it, like a parent who works a lot. And it's like those parents have a lot of guilt for like not spending time with their kids. But at the same time, it's like, well, what about their dreams and their fulfillment and that kind of thing?
Well, and this is a duty thing, too. It's not even necessarily about their desires. It's about what he feels is necessary.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's just like it is a complicated thing. If anything, I think it's about like seeing the adults in your life as fully realized is what
I will say I like that it sets up, their parents are gone, but we can still interact with them from time to time.
Yeah.
You know?
I wish we got more of Julius before this.
Yeah.
Like, I wish we had a scene of them together, like, really interacting before they went off to the British Museum and
I agree.
Started summoning gods.
Yeah. All right. Are we getting into ranking?
That's it. Yeah, that's it for the recap.
Alrighty. Let's be frank. It's time to rank. This one's good, but that one stank. Ranking Rick Riordan. Yeah.
It's just great, Dan. It's just a work of art.
It just came to me.
It really did. This is where his mental energy goes. We have all this recording equipment, and yet you like freestyle it every time. Maybe we should start figuring out a backing score for you.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Oh my God.
I would love to have a backing score. All right. So we're going to do most of the rankings on brand new lists, but we're going to do the book within the context of the other books. So we're starting with Best Hero, and I'm just nominating Sadie and Carter. I mean, like,
not Zia?
Zia's a Shopti. I mean, do you want to? Okay, if you guys want to put Zia in there, we can do that.
It makes sense to put Zia, because the whole thing is it's like, it is a version of her. Like, this is what Zia would do.
Yeah, it has her personality and all that.
It's a clone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd just say Zia, Carter, Sadie.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. So before I even really get into Best God and Best Baddie, this is a little more tricky than last time, because there are gods that would be in Best Baddie, but also should be in Best God. And we have to sort of make that decision. Are we okay with overlap? Because I like Sobek is definitely a baddie in this, but he's also a god. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, this gets so hard. You should do just like, how ordered are they? On a scale of chaos to order, Sekhmet is A.
I mean, if we want, we can separate it. We can say best god just means best mat god.
I don't follow.
Like, best god can just be like the gods that do good things.
Or you mean things that uphold Ma'at?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
Okay. So in that case, I assume we would take Set and Circuit and Sobek and Sekhmet off of this list.
For now.
Yes.
For now, yeah.
Yeah. So we would nominate Thoth, Bast, Horus, Isis, Nut, Gabe, Osiris, and Anubis. A lot of people there.
Mm-hmm.
We don't necessarily need to include all of them. I would assume we at minimum have to do Thoth, Bast, Horus, Isis, and Anubis, and maybe Osiris.
Yeah, I don't think we should
right.
put Nut and Geb on the list.
Yeah,
agreed.
I don't really need them either.
Oh wait, what about Nephthys?
Do you want Nephthys?
I don't feel like there's.
We didn't really meet Nephthys, in my opinion.
Yeah, she doesn't need to be on here. I just want to mention her as
fair enough.
God.
Fair.
Yep. Who is the bottom of the ones we're keeping?
Thoth.
I was gonna say Osiris.
Okay, I'm good with that too.
Yeah, I'm good with Osiris being, and then Thoth.
Yeah.
I would go Horus, honestly.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horus, Isis, Anubis.
I might.
Bast.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm totally fine with that. I thought you put Anubis lower.
Loses points for flirting with 12-year-olds.
Yeah. I mean, like, he provides the feather, but like overall, Bast is like she has, a journey of
Bast
support
has like an actual arc and stuff. Yeah.
And like rededicates her. She's like, even if I didn't make the promise and like to protect you, I would. Like that, that's really meaningful.
Yep. I'm actually, we're agreeing more than I thought we would.
Well,
all right. So that list is
bound to change.
From worst to best: Osiris, Thoth, Horus, Isis, Anubis, Bast. Now, best baddie noms are Sekhmet, Sobek, Serket, Set, Face of Horror, and Apophis. I just put Apophis. I don't really think we should add Apophis yet.
Yeah, he's not doing much. I don't know. Like, Face of Horror is like
we don't really
gross,
need to,
but like I don't know. He's not really.
Personally, I would do Sobek, Serket, Sekhmet, Set.
Me too.
Why Sobek at the bottom?
Because he was kind of just like,
He's just big.
I am.
Okay.
And Serket we were scared of.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So one more time, worst to best. Sobek, Serket, Sekhmet, Set. All S's. Best real world locale. I nominated Memphis, London, Paris, Las Cruces, Brooklyn, Phoenix, and Washington, D.C. I feel like the only ones that I actually nominate would be maybe Memphis and Washington, D.C.
I agree.
Agreed. And I think it goes DC and then Memphis is better.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, so this was easier
We are
than
really,
I thought.
Yeah.
Wow.
What does that say about this book that we are not feeling the challenge?
No, I think we agree on something for once.
I guess it's I'm looking for drama here.
All right, well, okay, now we're getting the book ranking, and there might be some drama there.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
probably.
All right, so the current rankings are Sea of Monsters, Lightning Thief, Titan's Curse, Battle of the Labyrinth, Lost Hero, Blood of Olympus, Son of Neptune, Last Olympian, Mark of Athena, and House of Hades. And I could put this friggin' a lot of places.
Me too.
I have only one place in mind.
Yeah, I think you told me.
Where is it?
Between Titan's Curse and Battle of the Labyrinth.
Yo, me too. That's where I was thinking.
Where would you put it, Dan?
At my most crazy, I would put it between Blood of Olympus and Son of Neptune. At my middle crazy, I'd put it between Battle of the Labyrinth and Lost Hero. And then I would agree with you.
Huh.
Those are like my three options in my brain. It's really hard for me to compare Battle of the Labyrinth and this.
It's the problem of another completely new introduction versus like these books where we were more immersed in the rules in the world. But like the imbalance between Sadie and Carter and like in retrospect, I'm like, oh yeah, there are a lot of things that I like going for it, but I still feel like there's something missing from this, some semblance of heart or something like that, or like I don't know.
I can see why you feel that way. I don't. I feel like the best thing that, and we've said it a few times, that I can say about Battle of the Labyrinth is that it's very like sharp and very condensed and has a ton in it and doesn't doesn't waste your time, has a lot of really cool moments. That said, I definitely prefer the character work in this book over that.
You're right. Crap.
And like,
I can't put it above Lost Hero. Like I would not be able, like, that was, even though we know about like demigods and all of that in Lost Hero, like, man, the interesting journey and just like Leo and Piper are to me just like,
I think Leo and Piper are more
successful.
interesting in that book than Sadie and Carter are.
Yeah,
I can agree with that.
I think it should go between Battle of the Labyrinth and The Lost Hero.
I'd be fine with
You've convinced
that.
me, Dan. The character work, especially when we compare, like, Battle of the Labyrinth has good Percy stuff, obviously, and some good Annabeth stuff, but like compared to both Sadie and Carter.
And this book had so much legwork to meet, like.
Yeah.
You know why I'm shocked, Clara, is because of your favorite Nico. Like how
I know, but he shines later on.
Yeah, Nico and Zia's equivalency, I think, is like, I feel like they have equivalent levels of things going on between those two books.
And the Red Pyramid, it's only the first book.
Yeah,
like the fact that there's all this characterization from book one. That I think that means something.
Sure.
Also, I definitely prefer the climactic battle and everything in this than I do the Battle of the Labyrinth itself. Even though I like that too, but there's something about having the like core one-on-one fight between Set and Carter, and then having the big moments of Isis and Sadie and all that.
Also, just like the telegraphing of Daedalus' story, and of like that being, quote, the reveal in Battle of the Labyrinth, when it like really wasn't much of a reveal. Like, on
the flip side, I love the Calypso stuff. I like the ranch. I like the stuff with Antaeus.
Pan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Pan's in that book too. Yeah, it's man, this is hard. Yeah, I could go either way, but
I'm fine with. We can always move it later on once we get the recontextualization of us having read the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really feel like the amount that I care about Sadie and Carter from like page 20 of this book is so impressive. Like, I really like both of them. The fact that I'm not bored by Carter. And I was realizing I was saying he was Jason-esque, but did this book come out before The Lost Hero?
Yeah, I believe so.
So Jason is Carter-esque, which makes Carter like even better in my mind.
It's hard when you talk about like, oh, it's the first book, so it had lots to do. Like, I'm almost like, is Lightning Thief too low?
No.
I mean, wouldn't know where else to put it, but I like Lightning Thief is a good book.
Yeah,
and it's like
no one's
really
saying
good.
it isn't. We wouldn't be doing this podcast if we were like,
yeah.
I'm crazy, but should we switch The Lost Hero and Lightning Thief?
Yes.
Yes,
are
you're
crazy.
Okay, that's fine. It was just a momentary lapse. I apologize.
Yes, you're crazy.
I'm just remembering how Percy sacrificed his mom, though.
I think there's a lot great in Lightning Thief.
There is, but
There's
like,
a lot.
there's enough there that again was like still very, exciting to read and made me excited about getting back into this series.
Yeah. I think
there's a reason it's not the bottom of the list.
I think there's an argument that it's better than Titan's Curse, but I personally like Titan's Curse more.
I like Titan's Curse too.
I think that we're all losing it a little bit at like an hour and a half into this recording.
All right, so are we officially saying it's between Battle Labyrinth and Lost Hero?
I'm happy.
I'm thinking about the scene with Nico and the.
Oh,
I know you are.
Feeding
this
the
is what I
dead.
was waiting for. I was like, really?
I needed to sink in.
Think about the Graceland and the
Now I'm
Sekhmet.
thinking about the comment about Elvis making rock popular
That's
for
true.
white people.
That is true.
We're switching Battle of the Labyrinth and the Red Pyramid because of Nico.
I knew Nico would be the like tipping point. Like, how could Nico not be the tipping? Even though he has a comparison to Zia, I'm just like, he's
I
Nico.
mean, I'm okay. I was expecting it to end up between Titan's Curse and Battle of the Labyrinth. I wouldn't put it there, but I'm okay with it being there.
Again, I wouldn't be surprised if recontextualization if we move it back up.
Yeah. I can see that.
So I'm like, this is what it is this week. But also, if anyone listening is like, these people are crazy, it needs to go, you agree with Dan or something like that. Send
or
in
you
your
agree with me
thoughts.
with the Lightning Thief.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I doubt anyone.
No one.
No one's going to agree with that.
No, I'm sure there are people who Lightning Thief is their favorite book because
wouldn't
it's the
be
first
surprised.
one they read.
I definitely think it has an audience, and it is arguably the most memorable book.
Yeah.
It's
lot
true.
of ways.
Well, and I've seen people argue Battle of Labyrinth is their number one in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even begrudge them for that. Like, I understand that.
Yeah, this really, like, it could go any direction. Just because we have certain criticisms doesn't mean it's like other people don't drive with something else. So anyway, if you disagree with this list.
So are we putting the Red Pyramid above or below Battle of the Labyrinth?
What do you want?
Yeah, you get to decide.
I'm going to put it below for right now because I'm also remembering that I had read this entire book.
Yeah.
And I remembered liking it, and I remembered a few little things, but mostly I didn't.
Yeah.
Whereas
Battle of the Labyrinth is like engraved in my memory.
That's fair. Yep.
Yeah.
Battle of the Labyrinth has so many good set pieces.
It really does.
Yeah.
It might honestly have the most number of good set pieces. So,
it's so good.
Yeah. All right. So here's the list: Son of Monsters, Sea of Monsters, The Lightning Thief, Titan's Curse, The Red Pyramid, Battle of the Labyrinth, The Lost Hero, The Blood of Olympus, The Son of Neptune, The Last Olympian, The Mark of Athena, The House of Hades. If you disagree, email us our podcast feedback at gmail.com or leave a comment under the YouTube video.
I apologize for my Lightning Thief comment.
Didn't mean to shame you so intensely about it.
No, it was a lapse.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and may the gods be ever in your favor.
Bye-bye.
Bye.